everyone, Adrian Violi from AuthenticDrummer.com. Thanks very much for watching. This is an instructional video for you to help you set up your DXP Pioneer Series drum kit. It can be a little bit of a mystery learning how to set up a drum kit, and I'm going to take you through right from the beginning, unpacking it out of the box, putting the heads on, giving it a tune, setting it up, and then having a play. So I hope you get something out of this. We're going to go from this to this. Let's make a start.
The drum kit we're setting up today is generally considered a rock drum kit. It has a 22-inch bass drum, 12-inch rack tom, 13-inch rack tom, and 16-inch floor tom. It also has a 14-inch snare drum. DXP also offers another configuration with 10, 12 and 14-inch toms. Regardless of your configuration, the setup is still the same. It's also worth noting that the setup today is going to be for a right-handed drummer. If you're a left-handed drummer, you would reverse the setup. Your new DXP kit comes completely disassembled. This means you'll have to put it all together. Be sure to lay things out neatly and take careful note not to lose any small fittings such as tension rods and bass drum hooks. Lay your drum heads on the floor. You should have 2 heads per drum. Be sure to lay out the small items on the floor like so, particularly your drum key, which you're going to need. For example, you'll need your drum key to loosen the tension rods on the hoop to remove the plastic wrap around the shells. Once you have everything out of the box and out of the plastic, you should have a bass drum with 2 hoops, a floor tom, and 2 smaller toms with their hoops, a snare drum, drum heads, 2 tom arms, 3 cymbals, 2 of which will become your hi-hats, all your hardware including your pedal, hi-hat stand, cymbal stands, drum throne, floor tom legs, all those tension rods and little fittings you had before, plus your drum key. Don't lose them. Place the bass drum on one end so that the bass drum legs are facing up at you. Then place the clear head on top of the shell like so, followed by a hoop. Then take the long tension rod, place a washer over the top, and insert into the bass drum claw like so. Then carefully put onto the hoop and insert the tension rod into the lug onto the bass drum. You can just tighten by hand at this point. You'll need to repeat the process with the remaining tension rods. Then go around and use your hands to finger tighten each of the tension rods as shown. The idea is to get it as even as possible to start with. Now turn the bass drum upside down and place the black head with the DXP logo facing up at the tom holder. You'll need to match that perfectly. Then, as before, place a hoop over the top, place a washer over the tension rod into the bass drum claw, and then into the lug as shown. As before, go round, do the same with all the other tension rods and finger tighten as shown. This little piece of rubber is your bass drum hoop protector. Peel the back off and place it directly between the 2 tension lugs at the bottom. This is where your pedal will attach to the bass drum hoop and will protect it and give a nice snug fit. Have your other tension rods, the smaller ones, ready for this next part. Now we're going to place the new heads onto the other drums. We have our floor tom, our second rack tom, our first rack tom, and their heads. The snare drum, as you can see, is already assembled, ready to go. We'll tweak with that a bit later. With your floor tom, place one of the heads on top of the shell as shown, followed by a metal hoop. At this point, you'll need to line up the holes on the hoop with the lugs on the drum so that later on the tension rods can go straight through. As before, take a washer, place over the tension rod, and insert through the hoop into the lug on the drum. Use your fingers to tighten them. As before, finger tighten each of the lugs as shown. Turn the floor tom over and repeat with the other side. Skin first, then hoop, then tension rods. You can also use your drum key if you wish, but make sure they're as even as possible. Next, you have to repeat the process with the other two toms. Skins first, then hoops, then tension rods, finger tighten all the way around. Don't worry about the tuning at this point, this is something we'll do later on. The idea at this point is that everything is basically as even as possible. At this point now, you'll have 4 drums, bass drum and 3 toms, ready to go. Take your drum key and loosen the lug on the pedal as shown. We're going to put our beater in here. The beater itself has 4 playing surfaces, 2 felt surfaces and 2 plastic. We're going to use felt today. Place in the hole as shown and tighten back up using your drum key. You can adjust the height of this later on. You can see now that the pedal board moves with the beater. The Allen key that's provided will be able to adjust other settings like the angle of the beater. So hang on to it, you might want to adjust your setup of your pedal later on. Your spring tension can also be adjusted down here. There's also another spring on the other side which can also be adjusted. The pedal will attach to the bass drum using this claw system. Let's put together the hardware. With your snare stand, you can loosen as shown and spread the legs out like this. You can tighten back up and then make sure the top one is loose as well. Take the top part of the snare stand and tighten up like so. Then place into the snare stand holder like so and tighten up. You'll notice that the memory lock is set so that it can't go any further down, but you can adjust that later if you wish. The cradle opens like this. That's where we put our snare drum. The adjustment wheel allows for different size snare drums and tightening the cradle up and down. Taking your drum key, as mentioned before, you can loosen the memory lock and make your snare drum stand lower should you wish. Once you've got it where you want it, you can retighten for future setups. Next we have our cymbal stand. Loosen the legs and spread them out as you did with your snare stand. Then take the middle pole and insert like so. Again, you'll notice the memory lock. Loosen this if you want to make it lower. Take the top part of the cymbal stand and tighten the head like so. Don't worry about the top part at this point because we're going to add a cymbal later on. For now, just insert in the top like this, adjust your memory lock as you see fit, and we'll move on to the hi-hat stand. The hi-hat stand is usually the most confusing. Remove the clutch and any washers from the rod. At the base of the pedal, these 2 rods need to be squeezed together and inserted into the holes at the bottom of the stand. This forms the pedal. Then, like the other stands, loosen and spread the legs out like so. Take the remaining pole, slide over the rod so that it comes out the end. Then you should be able to feed it onto the rest of the stand as you did before with your other stands. Now we're going to assemble the clutch. Place 1 washer over the top like so, followed by 1 felt. The clutch itself is designed to cradle a cymbal in between two felts. Remove the nut, the washer, and one felt. This is where the cymbal will go. Place one cymbal though over the rod, like so, facing upside down. Then feed the clutch through the cymbal like so. Place one felt, followed by a washer and the nut. Tighten up so you have a reasonably firm grip, but not too firm. Place over the rod and you have your hi-hats, the height of which can be adjusted later. Place your drum throne on the floor like so. Spread the legs out on the bass. Tighten up. The height adjustment on the throne is via a single bolt. Once you've got it where you think you want it, place one washer, followed by the wing nut, and tighten like so. Then insert the bass into the seat and tighten up. Turn the throne the right way up, and there is your drum throne. You'll need to adjust the height as you see fit once you've got the rest of the kit happening. Now let's put the crash cymbal on. Take the wing nut and the washer off the top of the cymbal stand, followed by one felt. Carefully place your crash cymbal over the top. You'll notice that there's a little rubber tubing there to protect the cymbal. Replace the felt, the washer, and the wing nut. At this point, don't over tighten, as this chokes the cymbal. Leave it a little bit looser so the cymbal's got room to move when you hit it.
Okay, cool. So we've come to this part. You've got your drum set up, hardware set up, and your cymbals are on. Now, before we put the kit together, a good idea is to actually give your drums a bit of a tune. If this is a very quick overview of tuning. If this is the first time you've ever tuned a drum, get used to it. You'll do it a lot, and it's a bit of fun. A lot of experimenting to do. If you're experienced with it, you can get it more into the subtleties of each of the lugs and the notes and the tones that you're looking for. But this is a quick overview. So you'll notice that at the moment I've got the drum right way up. What I want to do is actually turn it upside down, and we'll do the bottom head first. All right, so this is the bottom head. The reason why I know it's upside down is because the tension lug, or the tension for the arm, is actually that way. Okay, so like this, and you'll notice that when I push on the drum, you can see that there's some tension in there. I've done all these, as mentioned before, we've done all these finger tight. But you'll notice that there is some, sort of wrinkles and not much going on with the drum there. So, okay, what I want you to do is you can put your arm in the middle, and then just go around with your drum key here, and just do like half a turn, and then do the other lug the opposite. Trying to go as opposite as you can. The idea being that we're going to get as even tension as possible. Now have a bit of a look around, and when you push down on the head, you shouldn't really see any wrinkles. If you do, you can give the lugs near that part a little bit more of a turn to get rid of them. Bearing in mind that potentially we may not have been completely perfect when we did it to start with. But you've noticed now that if I take the drum off here and give it a tap, you actually get a note. Okay, I think that's a little low still, so I'm going to go a little bit higher. Repeat the process. Okay, now let's have a listen to it now. Generally speaking, I have my bottom head a little bit tighter than the top head. The reason for that is, and again, quick overview, I won't go into too much detail, but the real reason we do that is so that we get a little bit of a dip in the sound. And it's a very, likable tom sound. You can go for the same tension top and bottom, but if you're new to this, just try and get the tension happening in the heads and try and get it as even as you can around each of the sides. And then what you want to do now is turn the drum over and repeat on the other side as well. Okay, so that's basically how we get our tom starting to happen. This is the 12. You would repeat the same thing with the 13-inch tom and then the 16-inch floor tom as well. And then the bass drum, I'll show you right now. Okay, so we've got our toms done, ready to rock, and we're going to put them on the kit and show you how to do that in a sec. Now, bass drum. There is a way of tuning the bass drum. As before, we've got our tension rods all as even as you possibly can, and just finger tight. The thing with bass drums is you don't want to have it too tight, because if you want a lower pitched sound, you need the skins to be slightly slack. So as you can see here though, it's quite slack. So what we might do is we might take the front head up a little bit. So again, I usually just put my finger in the middle. I can see that there's wrinkles going all around the outside, and then I'll just give my key about half a turn, going around opposite. You can also go by feel too. Maybe my tension might not have been perfect at the start. There's a little bit more wrinkles over this side, so I might just take them up a little bit like that, and that's probably about right. You can just do it by looks if you're unsure, but that's going to be pretty cool for the front head. And we're going to turn over the bass drum and do exactly the same on the other side. So this is the side that we're actually going to play on, as you can see. So that needs to be tightened up as well, just a little bit, not too much, because again, I want it to be a sort of a lower sound. Okay. Okay, so at the moment, with the bass drum like that, if I tip it up and give you a bit of a listen, it's got a fair ring on it. Now, most recordings you would have heard before, it's got a really thuddy sound. So what we're going to do with the bass drum is we're actually going to put something inside it. So you can use a pillow, a blanket, a sheet, whatever you got lying around the house. And the idea is that you put something in there, so you have to take the front head off to do this if you want to do this. You don't have to, but if you want to do this, you'll do this. Take the front head off, put it in there, and just make sure it's touching the front skin and the back skin, and that'll act like a bit of a dampening for it, and that should take away any of those kind of overtones. And then when we put the pedal on, we'll have a listen to it later and you'll understand what I mean.
Place the bass drum on its side and then loosen the leg like so. The idea here is to have the bass drum leg facing forward slightly so that when you play the bass drum, it's got something to push against. You'll need to repeat on the other side. Get the angle to be exactly the same. Now you can adjust the height of the bass drum leg like this. Again, the same on both sides. The bass drum should sit a little bit up off the floor at the front. When you put your pedal on at the back, it'll even out. Now let's attach the bass drum pedal. Lift the bass drum slightly. Slide the pedal on so that the base of the stand is on the bottom and the claw is on the top. Then tighten the screw underneath until it's tight. At this point, it's good to check to see if the bass drum pedal is hitting in the middle of the drum head. If not, you'll need to use your drum key to adjust it again. This is the tom arm. It can be adjusted to have the drum angle up and down like so. Slide into the bass drum like this and tighten, then tighten so the arm is angled downward slightly. Repeat on the other side. Then take the smaller 12-inch tom, loosen, and slide over the arm like so. The memory lock will be in place to stop it going any further. Repeat on the other side with the larger 13-inch tom.
Okay, so you got your toms on. You may notice that when you get your kit that your toms might sit a bit high, as you can see a bit right here. Using your drum key, you can release the tension locks under here, and that will allow you to lower the arm to your whatever height you would like. So usually because the 13 is the bigger drum, I would use that to start with. That looks pretty good, and then I'll do the same with the other one. Then you can use your memory lock. You can tighten up your memory locks again to keep it there where you want it. And if you ever take the kit apart again, you can always put it back and get your toms exactly where you want it. Also notice the way I've got my stool positioned at the moment. I'm not sitting too low or I'm not sitting too high. I've got a slight angle on my legs, and I can easily reach the toms to be able to play them later on.
Now we can set up the floor tom. Place the floor tom upside down so that the inserts for the legs are up at top. Then slide the floor tom leg in partially like so. You'll need to repeat for the other 3 sides as well. It's important that you don't do them all the way in because this is going to adjust the height of your floor tom. Once they're all in, you can set it up at the drum kit like so and adjust as needed. You may need to sit down for this.
You'll notice the snare drum is a crucial difference between the other drums, and that's the fact that it's got snare wires on it like that. That's the sound that, that comes from this drum. It's caused by these wires, and they're attached here and there. Okay. First thing to make sure is that these are both tight on both sides, which they are. And what you can do is you can actually adjust the tension of the wires using this knob here, and you can also release the drum altogether, release the tension from the wires altogether for there. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to turn it over first, release the wires, and I want you to get one of your sticks and I want you to put it under like so. So now you can only hear the skin. All right, and we're going to tighten this guy up, and we're going to tighten it a fair bit. As before, half a turn each time. It's this skin that actually gives us the sensitivity in the snare that we need. So we want it to be nice and tight so that it responds, okay? Sometimes when I'm doing this, I might even just go around in a circle like that. And you can feel the tension as you go. Should sound something like that, nice and tight, okay? You can probably even go a little bit tighter as well. Okay, I'm pretty happy with that. Turn the drum over. And we're going to repeat the process on the other side. You don't have to go as tight on this side, but reasonably tight so you get a nice funky sound. I'll probably go even tighter than that. Okay, so I'm reasonably happy with the tension on the snare drum at the moment. Let's see what it sounds like. The wires sound a little bit loose at this point, so I'm going to tighten them up a little bit. We've got a snare. Let's put it on the kit.
Place the snare onto the stand, ensuring that the cradle is wide enough to accommodate the drum. If needs be, you can alter the width using the adjustment wheel as mentioned earlier. Or you may need to tighten in order to make sure that the drum doesn't come away from the cradle. In the tightened position, you should be able to pick the drum up off the floor and the snare stand will come with it. Should you wish to, you can also angle the snare drum towards you by adjusting as shown. Usually I would keep it as flat as possible, or at the angle your stick is going to come down at. Place your hi-hat to the left of the snare and your crash cymbal in between the hi-hat and that first tom. At this point you may need to adjust the height. You can experiment as much as you like with this to get it where you like it.
Okay, so you've got to this point, you've got your kit set up and you're ready to rock. Probably a good idea to check out some lessons, set up your own little practice space. You can adjust the drum kit however you decide you want to. Seat a bit higher, a bit lower if you need to. You can angle your toms more if you want. Completely up to you. Now, one thing that you will find that may happen in the future is that your skins need retuning. So as you play these, they will stretch. So you may find that you need to, even in the tuning process, like we were doing before, you may find that you need to apply a fair bit of pressure just to get it to seat properly in the middle and around the bearing edges, and then retune from there. But you'll find that the drum kit itself actually has some good selling points in this price bracket. So some really good bearing edges, a great snare strainer, which is something that's usually cheaped down on quite a bit. To take it to the next level, a really good thing you can do is upgrade your heads. Remo makes some really good products. If you put a set of Remos on this drum kit, you'll actually transform the sound. So would be that's the next thing if you wanted to upgrade from there. And then you could look at different cymbals or different pedals or adding other cymbals and etc. So yeah, so I hope you got something out of this video. Good luck with it, and we'll see you very soon.